today. Mike Schuster, founder and owner, problem
John,
solver.
can I interrupt
Yeah,
you
yeah.
real quickly, John? One step. I'm sorry, Mike. There's a Google link that Val Edwards has just put into the chat for any guests. It's only 4 little questions to fill out. So if you're a guest today with MABC, if you'll click on this link, it's posted right there, and just fill that out so that we can connect with you afterwards. We would love to have it. Sorry.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to be spamming you, but we do want to stay connected with everybody. And there's the curriculum coach right there. Bam. Yeah, Mike Schuster, FiddleSmart Marketing, problem solver, creator, explorer, optimist, business owner, amazing individual. Mike has been in marketing for many years, 15, 20 years. He has established and facilitated strategies for profitability for one of the sewing industry's most iconic retailers. Have you ever heard of Sewing with Nancy? Public television. She's famous, definitely across the United States. Amazing. Mike was in charge of marketing for them. Also managed a multi-million-dollar, multi-title catalog business. Conceived and implemented new product development strategies, developed multi-channel direct-to-consumer marketing campaigns. Mike holds a doctorate degree in management from Disney University, and we all know how their customer service rolls. He's an accredited small business consultant. He has an MBA in marketing from Villanova University. And today, Mike is going to share some of his knowledge with us on what story are you telling and does anyone care? And I think it's relevant, and I think we can all benefit from it. And I'm going to turn the program over to Mike. And Mike, you got the floor.
Thanks, John. Oh, thanks, Mary Helen, for the applause. We'll get the screen shared here. I see a couple going, and we'll let's see if I can get this. We were talking in our group about how technology is one of the issues we have all been trying to learn and deal with better here. But if all goes well, we won't have to worry about that for this presentation. So yeah, what we want to delve into a little bit is the story that you're telling. And the problem is, if you're not telling the right story, a lot of people aren't really going to care about all the words that you're saying. What we tend to imagine with our clients is that we'll spend hours, maybe days, in some cases weeks, putting together our presentations, our next email campaign, maybe the blog post you're working on. And we know that once we send it out and once they see it, they're going to be so excited and thrilled that it hit their inbox that they will open it, devour it, read it from top to bottom, and come back to it 3 or 4 times so they can completely understand it. At least that's what we hope and we tend to envision ourselves doing. Unfortunately, that's not quite the reality that everybody's living through. What our reality really looks like is this. Everybody is surrounded by competing priorities, urgent requests flooding their inbox, everybody hitting that little exclamation mark. It is estimated today, especially now that we're spending even more time on our screens, that we're barraged by an estimated 6,000 to 10,000 marketing messages a day. Now that doesn't even include all of the other messages you're receiving from other people. There's just 6,000 to 10,000 marketing messages that are hitting you. And so unfortunately, most of what we're saying to people and the stories that we're telling gets reduced down to noise. And the best way that I can say to understand that is to think of the Charlie Brown teacher. We're out there talking and all everybody's hearing is wah, 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 wah. And that can be an issue. And so what that means for all of us as a consultant is that basically, in reality, a goldfish is more likely to give you more attention than most people. There was a study by Microsoft in 2020 that said the average human's attention span was 12 seconds. So you had in 2020, well, no, I'm sorry, that was in 2000. In 2000, you had about 12 seconds to capture somebody's attention. By 2015, your attention span had been reduced to 8 seconds. Now, however you study attention spans in goldfish can be a little complicated, I guess, but a group called Sisian did some sort of a study, and they concluded that a goldfish has an average attention span of 9 seconds. So in reality, a goldfish will give you a second more of attention than a human will. To make it worse, because I'd like to say 8 seconds was what you truly have, people are now estimating that as we get hit by more and more and more messages, the new estimate is that you have about 4 seconds in a digital world to grab somebody's attention and establish relevance. Otherwise, they're going to click and move on to something else. So when I think the best way to explain some of this is to actually show, because seeing is believing. So as we keep going forward, we're going to take a real life example. So I'm going to be showing you a website next for a client that I've been working with. Some of you know this person. Rest assured, he has given me permission and his blessing to use his story and example to show everybody. But when I bring up the visual, what I want you to do is pay attention to what you notice. See what in the visual grabs your attention. See if in the time you have, you can answer what's being sold, who is being serviced, or even why you would even want to work with this client, or somebody would find any interest in working with this client. So here you go. So that wasn't a lot of time. What I gave you was 8 seconds. So imagine today you probably have half of that. And what I'm curious about is whether or not you could tell what Roger sells, who Roger serves, or whether you're a target audience of Roger and should care, or why you would even work with Roger.
I see it as being an authentic speaker.
I noticed his face in the picture, but I'm not sure I could answer those 3 questions.
Yeah.
Second that.
It's a tough market, and we'll spend a little bit of time going through it a little more and give everybody an opportunity to talk about that. Well, basically what this what this time frame showed you is you really don't have a lot of time to grab attention and say something that's meaningful. So if you're going to cut through all the clutter, if you're going to stand out from the 6,000 to 10,000 messages people are seeing, you absolutely have to have something that's clear, concise, and compelling. And we don't have all the time today to go through, once you've grabbed attention, how you can convert people and everything else. But what we are going to focus in on is 3 different things that you can do to improve the impact of your first view, which will impact your overall marketing. Oh, see. So, trigger happy fingers get you advancing slides faster than you should. Lesson number 1. But in general, what science will tell us is that the first view that somebody sees is disproportionately weighted. So when I see something, 85% of my attention span, or 85% of my attention is going to go to the first view, the very first thing that I see. So basically, if we're going to stop them from clicking, you've got to make that first view stick. In print studies that have been done, the other thing to keep in mind is that 50% of the people will read a headline and go no further. So while you can either take the unfortunate view of that and say, man, 50% of the people aren't ever going to read anything beyond what I told them in the headline. That's true. The better thing to think about is that if you get your message and make your headline compelling, 50% of the people who see your message are going to get it. So 50%, you have a chance of reaching 50% of the people you want to reach if you only have a headline that communicates value in a message in some way that's compelling. So don't bury what you need people to see and what you want people to know. We also, in general, as humans, we process images 40% faster than we'll process text. So when you're looking at your first views, you also want to be saying, what's the story your image is saying? So they don't lie when they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. You could say as a consultant, it could be worth $1,000. So focus in on the image as well. And if your image doesn't tell a story, one of the things we want to be asking is, can it tell a story? Is there something I can do in my image or the image that's being used, or challenge your graphic designers to say, what kind of image can we use that's really going to help tell the story? So when you're looking at and putting all of this together, what you want to do is improve your cognitive fluency. Oh, that's a mouthful of words. Maybe it's better just to say, make it easy to see, read, and understand. Because that's basically what cognitive fluency means. So just make it easy. Don't worry about the big words. See, as humans, we don't want to think. We don't want to work too hard. That primitive brain of ours is still controlling us. And so we're concerned about burning glucose and calories and preserving our energy for the future meals. Although in the pandemic, as I think Heather pointed out to me in some conversations, we probably would like to burn a few more calories. Our primitive brain is still fighting that issue. And then studies have also shown that the harder something is to read or understand, the more difficult it's perceived or the less truthful it's perceived. So the harder we make it for somebody, the more they might see working with us as difficult. And Trey talked about that a few months ago when he talked about making things easy. It goes all the way through to your messages as well. And then the harder we make it, the more they start questioning, well, is this really truthful? So how do we go about it? What are some of the things that we want to look at as we look at our first images? We want to ensure that there's a strong contrast between the background in the copy and the photo or the image that's in the background. So we want the other way that I always like to look at that is, does it pop? Does it pop off the page? What's popping off the page? The more it all blends together, the less chance we'll see something. And I'll teach you some exercises you can use to evaluate that. Ways to do that would be to keep the type and text black or very dark. If you're going to use knockout type, and knockout type, for those who aren't designers, is white text on a background, usually on a dark background, but often not. You want to keep the text as big as possible. Reading studies and comprehension studies have shown that when people use knockout type for large amounts of text, it actually kills and almost eliminates comprehension of the message or the story altogether. And the best way to think about that is, because it's harder to read, we fight to read it, and because we're fighting so hard just to process the words, we don't actually retain or comprehend what's being told to us.
Or we just skip it.
Or yes, kind of, as you said, or we just skip it altogether. I will tell you that isn't often a battle with some designers. A lot of people who design to make a picture look pretty, and I know really great designers don't do this, but They like to use knockout text because it all ends up looking really, really pretty. But we're not going to get into all the copy, but be very careful about using it with body copy or the big text portion. So when you're getting into paragraphs of copy, knockout text is very dangerous. So that's the only hint of well, it may not be the only one, but it's the limited amount of hints you'll get to things beyond the first view. And then you want to make sure that you have a bold headline. And you want to make sure this is one of the first things that people see, because you want their eyes to gravitate towards it so that they'll read it. If they have to hunt for the headline, chances are they won't see it in that first amount of time, and you're losing the chance they'll see it. So one of the things to do is put your headline next to the image. If you do have a person or a face, know that people's eyes gravitate towards the face. If depending on where they look, that can be important to you. You'll even see in this picture that her eyes are looking up. Your eyes will follow her eyes. So then put the headline next to where the eyes are looking, or the message you want people to see next to that, and you'll help that go on. And then pretty much never put the headline above your image. You always want to put it below the image, and that's just especially in print. And people will look at an image and then their eyes naturally want to track down. So if you put your headline above the image, most people won't see it, or you're already causing things to be hard for somebody because they're trying to look up to see something and their eyes want to go down naturally. So there's whole eye flow studies. We won't get into all of that. It's probably even better if one of our designers does
That seems that's contrary to the way most newspapers are laid out.
Yeah. Yes. in some cases, and we don't want to. I won't get into all of that. There's reasons why some of the things are there. If you think of the way newspapers used to have to be sold. And what would be they were in a news box and people had to see it, and their headlines were the things that would grab somebody walking by on the street. But so there's always a reason to break a rule. Just know if you're going to break the rule, what risk you're taking in doing it. So if you don't have a compelling reason, think about it the other way. You want to try to make it as easy to read, and by that, make it an easy to read font. Try to stay away from, actually don't try, for the most part, stay away from script fonts altogether. In a sort of marketing message. They're fine on a wedding invitation, they're fine in the right environment, but script fonts are hard to read. And then, so make sure it's easy, it doesn't have a lot of extra things. Your letters aren't designed in ways that aren't normal for people to see. Any of that can be dangerous in terms of your message. And then your words matter. So you want to use an active voice, not a passive voice. You want to eliminate things that get rid of confidence. So you don't really want to say, I can, I will, probably. All of that doesn't help you sound confident. So eliminate those. Where you can, use one powerful word instead of many words. So, it was windy and noisy and scary. It could just be, it was terrifying. Because people can start getting an understanding of what terrifying is without all the extra words, and then you're not asking somebody to read more than they need to. When you get into supporting copy, supporting headlines, keep your sentences short. You want to keep them less than 25 words per sentence. If you can, shorter the better. 7 to 10 words in your headline. If you can, the way somebody had taught me once that in billboards, the best billboards have 7 to 10 words on them, probably less than 7. And that's because you're driving by 70 miles per hour. And so think about any message that way too. If you're clicking off within 4 seconds, and I've got to get your attention, can I keep that first? I've got to grab your attention. Once I grab your attention, I can tell you more. So keep the words short. And then try to eliminate any kind of duplicate. The way to keep it short is eliminate duplicate words. So don't say living life. You're just living. There's no other way to live but to live your life. So, live. Or clean and tidy, just say it was immaculate or it was clean, because the two it doesn't add more value by adding another word. So you have to be ruthless with some of that. And then as much as you can, keep it conversational. We talk. Nobody, although I'm learning now that textbooks are changing their styles to be more conversational, but for the most part, nobody really enjoyed, most people, I'm sure there's some people, most people don't enjoy reading a textbook. And that's because it uses all these big words. So keep it short, keep it conversational. Your sentences, when you get into copy, do not have to be complete sentences. I apologize to every English teacher out there, but it's staccato, quick writing, quick thoughts. We don't talk always in complete sentences either. So just keep it short that way. And then have a real focal point. So pay attention to what they're looking at and try to get them to look at one thing in one area so that their eyes aren't bouncing all around. And again, we're going to go through an exercise here in a second. You'll have some time to practice and sort of see how that might work. And then as a bonus, give them a next step. So tell me the next step to take. Again, we don't want to have to think too hard, so always be leading them down the path of the next step to take. So if you can even do that right after a first view, if you've hooked me, it's, okay, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do next? So we're gonna go back to Roger's page. I'm gonna take you through a few exercises that you can do to sort of test first view in looking, because sometimes the whole 4-second screen disappearing thing takes too long to set up and you want to evaluate it. So we're going to go through each one. You'll have a moment to evaluate it, and then we're going to break into groups and to talk sort of about which tools worked for you and what did you notice in those groups. So if we're looking at Roger's piece now and we want to say, how do I make this easy to see, read, and understand? There's 3 different tests that over the 25 years I found can be helpful at evaluating this. One of them is what we'll just call the squint test. So all you have to do is squint your eyes and look at the screen. As the screen it gets a little blurrier, a little fuzzier through the squint, what you want to see is what's popping off. So what do you notice and what disappears? The things disappearing are things that people will not see at a first view. They'll have to work to see. And the things that are jumping off are the things we're going to look at first. The second test, so just, pay attention to what you're seeing. We're going to talk about them in groups. So the second test you can do is the look away and the look back test. So if you take a moment and look at the material, and then now look away, focus on something else in the room, and look back quickly, try to pay attention to where your eyes go and what you notice first. This one can take a little bit of practice. Sometimes you have to look away and back a handful of times, but it gives you a quick idea of what might be popping off the page and where your eyes are going. The other way to do it, and if you want to try this one, you'll have to do it on your own screens. I didn't figure out how to do this in the middle of a Zoom. So is make it small. So if you had this image up on your screen, shrink it down to 20% of the size. When you're seeing it, in essence, the message in a thumbnail size, again, you're looking to say, well, what elements do I see? Is there anything I can read? Or does it all get lost? Because if it all turns into one big busy mess, you know, you have some work to do.
Mike, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
In the picture next to Roger, you have white text against a brick building.
Yep.
Is that normal? Is that, you know, you were talking before about reverse fonts,
Knockout text you're talking about? I think?
knockout text. I'm just
Yes.
kind of wondering, should that be black or is that white?
This
for a
is the
reason?
non-example, right, Mike?
Yeah, this is what it looks like now, and then we're going to go through steps of how to improve it.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yep. No, it's good. This is you're right. That's an issue. You can talk about it in the. We're gonna go into some breakout rooms. You're gonna have 6 seconds, or it's not 6 seconds, 6 minutes. 6 seconds would not give you a lot of time to get any point across, but 6 minutes to talk amongst yourselves. And as John's getting that set up to move everybody out, we'll think about what it is now, or take these last couple of seconds while he's doing that to do one more of these tests and jot down a note or two. And, you know, what are the things that got lost? Or you're finding hard to read, and what are the things that are standing out to you and that you're noticing the most, or anything that's concerning? And then we'll come back, see if anybody has some big insights they want to share. And then we'll go through what I saw in ways that we then took a step to improve.
Okay. Is it okay for me to
you
go
could
into
do it.
breakout rooms now?
Yep. Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right, I think this is our group here. So what do you think, Mike? You want to talk about this homepage?
Yeah, we can talk about the homepage.
Is that what we're up for?
Yep. Yep.
So I'll just restate my point about the white text. You know, I've always kind of wondered about that. Every time I see that, I go, wow, why not set your text up so people can read it and see it?
Yeah, it's that's one of the biggest issues with this. Is one, it's small text it's small white text,
Yeah.
and two, it's on a light. The big brick background is light, right? So there's no contrast to help it separate. And then even worse, you've got all the pictures of the windows and everything else that are distracting and cutting in and out of the text.
Yeah, the whole thing, the reflection on the window, everything.
Yeah, it makes it so that the message is near impossible to read, and you're not going to notice it without spending time with it.
And then the text underneath the picture looks to be unreadable, so small.
Yeah, and yeah, the funny thing is we're not even going to have time to go into all of that part, but yeah, it needs to be pumped up in size. There's a lot of issues with the way it's being read. There really should be a headline under the main image, some way to pull you down to the next part of the story. But there isn't.
Yeah, where is the call to action on the homepage above the fold?
The only place that it would be is that book now, way up in the upper right corner.
Right, that's a little presumptive.
It's presumptive, and then most I mean, the red has a chance of trying to fight your eye to go up there, but it's a bad placement for the fact that most usability studies have shown that people don't look above the menu bar. So most information above the menu bar is there for somebody hunting, but it's not going to usually be something people click on or spend a lot of time with.
So I'll just share this observation with you that I struggle with all the time, every day. And it's very difficult to create content that is turned towards the prospect or the customer.
Yes.
So I look at this homepage and I get the fact that you're selling Roger and that everybody's like, Roger wants to help people get to know him, but there's no customer-centric content here above the fold.
Correct.
Am I right about that?
You're 100% right.
It's all about me.
Correct.
You know, and I'm looking at my own bad website and I'm like, at least it's turned towards the market.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's not easy. It's 99% of what you see out there is all about the company, all about me. You know, where is the language that's written for the customer so that they could see themselves in that perspective?
Correct. Correct. It's a real issue, and honestly, the people who can figure out, even in Roger's shoes, how to put the customer centric to their message first and how they help them, they'll do better than everybody who's out there saying, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's a fine balance between trying to say, how do I help you? How do you have some trust in me that I know what I'm?
Yeah, one way I've tried to think about it my own self, and I'm just kind of using this as my own self-reflection. I think about this all the time, is if I'm gonna write this for my prospects and customers, what is in the content for them that helps them see themselves? So if you can list the biggest challenges companies face, what are the 3 biggest problems, and how is Roger going to be a solution provider for that?
Yep.
And
You're right there, John. That's what we're going into next, is how to start going down that path to say, what do I do? How do I help? And that even with what he's doing here, and that's what I'll show, is there's a way that he could take the message he's just saying and make it more powerful so that somebody might actually stop.
Yeah.
Without even digging into making it stronger, right? And then there's 2 more ways to make it stronger. 2 more steps.
Pretty fascinating exercise right there.
Yeah, but it's
how much time you want to spend on this?
We can pull people back whenever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting ready to rock and roll it. You want me to pull everybody back in?
Yeah, go ahead. I think they've had enough time.
Okay, I'm going to close all the rooms. 60 seconds out.
Good.
So it's going pretty smooth so far, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, here they come.
Here
They're all coming back in.
Oh, it says book now. That's what that is. Okay. I recognize I noticed the red button. I didn't know what the hell it was, but okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, we were just talking about having a call to action.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the red button.
Oh, there it is.
Red button, right?
Yeah, we're
was
pulling
saying
everybody back in. Everybody's coming back in here.
My first impression was he sold real estate. And I don't need real estate, so I would have kept
Yeah,
moving.
that's true.
Yeah. And what's he standing
Poor
in the
guy.
Yeah.
I hope he never watches this video.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Roger and I talked, and he was more than okay. He does not he hasn't changed his website yet. But
Well, Pamela Rich knows him.
Yes.
She
Yeah.
knows him.
Yeah.
He isn't too happy with his current look anymore.
So you're going to show us a redesign, right?
I'm going to show you 3 redesigns as we go through the process.
Oh, cool.
So
All right, I think we're all back here.
Well,
Okay,
I
I'm
think-
gonna mute.
I know Roger really well, and I loved his website. I loved it. I just thought it was like so good. And then I started working with Mike, and it's like, oh, you don't see what you don't see, right? So yeah,
I
yeah.
said the same thing.
Yeah.
Sherry, I said the exact same thing, that I used to think, oh, mine was so clear. And then I worked with Mike and he's like, yeah, no. In a good way, Mike.
Well, I worked with Mike, and I always thought I hate my website, and everybody else was like, what do you mean? It's so wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I can't even look at it. And then Mike sent me one thing based on what we had talked about, and I'm like, oh my God, I am so madly in love with where I'm going, you know. So, yeah. There's magic in being able to like find, and it's finding the right wording that matches like why you came here to be. You know, and that's Mike's gift, is helping people to do that. And it is a gift. It is an absolute gift.
well, thank you, Sherry.
And so, yeah. Thank you.
So we'll keep moving. Some people were talking about, did he sell real estate? They weren't sure what it was. People were coming back saying, there's the red button that somebody else noticed. I will say on that really quickly, be very careful about what you put above the menu bar. Most studies show people don't look below, they only want to look below the menu bar on a website. So you're fighting eye flow and eye traffic already when you put something up there. So if that's going to be your only call to action, that's a dangerous place to put your only call to action. So yes, Roger didn't give a next step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through, at this point, we're going to go through, I'm going to show you some of the things that I saw so you can see if, just to keep things moving. And we're going to go through, then we're going to see one thing we could have done really easily just to change it based on the information Roger has currently. And then we're going to go through 2 more steps of how to make your message stronger and show an evolution of the message potentially as we go down the path. So buckle up. We're gonna keep going. So these are what I'm showing you right now are the 2 things that I saw through my different tests. And those tended to have the most contrast. Obviously, I saw Roger, and my eye wanted to keep looking over at his logo design. What I missed completely, or what gets lost, is his actual message. And it's partially because it's on a light background with white text, so there is no contrast. It's fairly small. There's issues with the fact he's saying I can. You don't want to start with I. That's a whole test we won't go into. It's more of a copy exercise, so we can talk about it at a future time. But just know it's the wee test, so don't wee all over yourself. It's always good when there's a mic on, and I know somebody found it humorous. So there's 2. You know, what I do see though, if I look at the message alone and I say, so what is Roger trying to say here? If we weren't to delve any further, what he's really trying to say is if you book him, you're going to get an engaging dynamic presentation. Okay, every speaker probably promises an engaging dynamic presentation, but one that energizes your teams to be authentic, inspired, and motivated. If we look at those 3 words of authentic, inspired, and motivated, okay, those are probably overused in the speaker world, that everybody says you're going to be inspired and motivated by me. So if we just concentrate on authentic as being something that he's promising people to do different, here's what we could have, what he could have done. So he could have taken a big headline and said, energize your teams to be more authentic, book a presentation. That change alone would probably get somebody to stop on the page and go, oh, wait, well, I've got a team. So by saying your teams, if I'm somebody who manages a team, it's already speaking to me. So I can look at that and say, look, Roger works with teams and people who lead teams probably. And well, authentic, well, what does it mean to be more authentic? But I'd energize. Okay, so at least it starts getting it captures your attention. And remember, the first view, we're really trying to capture the attention. You can complete the cell later. And then by saying book a presentation as a call to action, if I look at that next and I know, oh, he does presentations. So automatically I know more about Roger than I would have otherwise in a very quick period of time. If you do nothing else, that's good, although it can be better. And so to make it better, what we need to do is we need to think about selling the whole and not the drill. So if you're in marketing, you've heard this term probably a lot. If you're not, you may be like, well, what do you mean by selling the whole, not the drill? Basically, if you think about it, not many people ever buy a drill because they just want a drill in their tool cabinet. They just go, hey, drills are kind of cool. They make a cool noise. I want one in my tool cabinet. They actually, they buy a drill to solve a problem. And the problem they want to solve is they need a hole. So they buy the drill for a hole. So if you sell them the hole by saying, get your 1/4 inch hole, I've got a better chance of selling more drills. The real challenge is, how do you determine the problem you're solving? So if I'm Roger, or if I'm me or any consultant, what problem am I solving and what benefit am I providing? So what is a hole? What is the hole that I'm creating for other, or helping other people create? But the best way that I have found to sort of drill that down is to ask, so what? What's in it for me? End of the day, people don't care about you. they don't.
Funny about that.
Your mom does, but you know, and your husband and maybe your kids if you're lucky. But for the most part, people don't care about you. They care about what you can do for them. So a way to think about that is people have their mind and their radio permanently tuned to a radio station called WII-FM, WII-FM, which is what's in it for me. They're looking at everything going, well, what's in it for me? Why should I care? So if we think about Roger and we ask, so what, we can get to the benefit. So if I take energize your teams to be more authentic. So what? What's in it for me? Well, it builds trust. So what? What's trust got to do with anything? What's in it for me? Well, when teams have trust, companies grow. Oh, so if I get teams to be more authentic, my company will grow. Now we're getting down to a real benefit for me. If I lead a team and I want my company to grow, I might want to look at Roger. Now, I know some of you are more positive and don't like the idea of, well, you know, so what sounds negative. There is another tool you can use to get there, and that's a tool called Ladder It Up, or Ladder Up. And the way you do that is you say, and what's the best possible outcome of that? So the example here would be, what's the best possible outcome of having an authentic team? The team builds trust. And what's the best possible outcome of teams building trust? Oh, teams work together to solve problems. Well, and what's the best possible outcome of that? Growth at our company would accelerate. Oh, now we're getting to something. So you just keep asking it and asking it and asking it until it starts saying like, oh, there's something that I can work with. There's something that answers the question. It helps sometimes to pair that up with somebody else instead of just yourself, because and then just make sure they're not the person who's going to just keep pestering you even though you finally reach something you can work with. So if that makes sense, we'll take a look at what Roger's evolution might look like as we go there. So we had energize your teams with authenticity. It could be accelerate your company's growth, and then add in just a point to say why that matters underneath of energize your teams to be more authentic. Authenticity builds trust, trust fuels growth, book a presentation. Again.
So the top mic is the problem that you're solving, the whole?
Yep, so the topic, accelerate your company's growth, is the whole. I want more growth for my company. And the word accelerate is a pretty powerful verb. I'm telling you, it's not slow growth. If we can do this, you can get fast growth.
So what you're saying, put the desired outcome at the top?
Yep. Sell the benefit first, then tell them how I get it, and then tell them the next.
Excuse that.
And again, if you can do this with what you're doing, you're going to be one step ahead of a lot of your competitors. Because, you know, start paying attention to websites as you go out there and say, well, how many companies just say, hey, this is all about us and this is what we do, and we do this and we do that and we do that, and don't actually tell you, you know, the benefit that they're bringing. John and I had been talking about that a bit, but you know, in general, who doesn't want growth for their company? So automatically you're starting to, Roger's starting to speak to a point that says it, and this is all good, but there is a way to make it even stickier and stronger. So this speaks a lot to rational thought and logic. What we want to do is seal the deal by making them feel. And the reason for that is emotions are stronger than logic.
For better or worse.
95% of your purchase decision or any decision you make is going to be made in your subconscious mind. We don't believe it. You'll fight that idea, but 95% of it's done subconsciously. And then you use the logic, the facts, the figures, the results that you're going to get to rationalize the decision and make you feel better about the decision you've already made. So we think we're thinking machines, but we're not. We're really just feeling machines that happen to think. And so when you get into marketing, and what that means is you want to start thinking about what pain can somebody avoid. And it's not, see, growth is a pleasurable thing, and it may be the outcome, and I may be able to rationalize with it. But neuroscience studies have shown that we are 2 times more likely to avoid pain than we are to seek pleasure. So if you tell somebody that your result brings something pleasurable, it doesn't mean you won't get the sale, but if you can take them to the point of a way they can avoid pain or bring them into a pain situation, you could get twice the response.
That's a great point.
And so what you want to do is you want to figure out how you can grab attention. You appeal to primal basic instincts, things that make us feel uncomfortable. The fear is a big one. Stimulate the emotion, and then calm it down. So you don't let somebody sit and stew in the emotion forever when you do this, because we don't like pain either. We want to avoid it, remember? So stimulate the emotion, make them feel make them feel the emotion, and then pull them back into a solution that says, I can help you overcome that pain. And then give them logic so they can support it. Now, some of this you're not going to be able to all do in the first view. Some of it will have to come in afterwards. But again, if you want to capture them, and then you can worry about finishing the sell as they go on. So we'll show examples of how this goes. There's ways, if you want to start more positive, to very quickly remind them or hook them in a different way. You can remind them about pain in the secondary part too, but I'm going to show you how to do it, how this can be done in sort of the first view. So how do you get there? Ask yourself what problems or situations your clients or your prospective clients are struggling with. What are they trying to solve? What are they trying to get through? And I should say, I do have a handout. We'll put in the links at the end that has a lot of this listed out for you. But if that helps, you don't have to try to scribe furiously. What problems can't people solve on their own? So what are they trying to do, but they can't get there without, they just can't get and get that problem solved. Think about how this looks like in a real life situation. So what happens? What happens when teams don't trust each other? What happens when there's no authenticity? What things would somebody be witnessing in a company? What experiences would be happening? You can, a way to do it too is think what I'll call, think of the nightmare situations they can avoid. So what are those horrible things? You know, huge clashes between people, big blow-ups, people walking out, quitting on somebody in a heartbeat, all because they lacked authenticity. So what are those nightmare situations? The other thing that can be fun, and we'll have a little fun with this later, is playing a game of what could go wrong.
What
So
could possibly go wrong?
right. So the way to do that is you start and you say, what could go wrong when people don't solve this problem? So if you've identified a problem, what could go wrong if we don't solve that problem? Well, and then what else could happen? And then what else could happen? Well, what would happen then? And what would happen then? And you keep getting into the meat and might be able to identify the solution or the problem and pain point. And then what you want to look for is, as you've brainstormed this and listed it all out, is what is 1, 2, or 3 of the top things that would probably resonate with most of the people. So what are the most common things that you see people dealing with or struggling with? Because again, you want to speak to us slightly. You want to capture people with your message. So you want it to be somewhat universal in its appeal, but concentrated enough they can put themselves in that situation. So let's take a look at Roger's homepage again. At this point, we determine when teams lack authenticity, they don't feel wanted, heard, or appreciated. So they disengage, service suffers, and people don't stick around. And when people don't stick around and customers don't come back, it creates real problems. What we narrowed it down to was the most painful aspect is retention. And if they could just get people to stick around, they felt things would be better. Then we didn't want to use the word retention. It's a big word. It's a common word. So we asked how somebody would talk about the problem with their friends and be more conversational. You wouldn't normally sit around and say, I can't retain employees. My customer loyalty rates are in the tank. You'd probably say something like, I can't get them to stick around. They keep quitting on me. They're jumping ship for the competitors. So what it could turn into from a hook is tired of people jumping ship. And then you take it down, right? So now if I've got that problem and I come to Roger's homepage, I'm like, oh man, I am so tired of people jumping ship. And then you start letting them know how you're gonna solve the problem or how working with you will help. Another
idea is turnover affecting your customer relationships?
Yes.
How about tired of turnover?
Tired of turnover works too, yes.
Even shorter.
Yeah, more succinct.
Yep.
I might need this guy's phone number.
It's right there.
Book time. I can book time with Roger.
I can book, yeah, that's right. You can book time with Roger. He'll help
And
you.
even that call to action is better, I feel like, because I might not be ready to book a presentation, but I might want to talk to him, right? So even changing that wording is more engaging. It seems like it gets my attention.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct, Heather. It's a stepping stone process.
Right.
Like tweaking it, right? It seems like you don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. You have to like find where the baby is.
Right, and if, in the grand scheme of things, if you have the opportunity and the capabilities on your website, you could take all 3 of these types of examples and put them up against each other in an A/B test and see which one gets people to click or which one gets people to stick around the longest. I mean, there's ways to keep testing it and refining it and picking a different word choice. Your work's probably never done, but this would get this type of thing could get you closer, and there's no shortage of word choices.
Something that I'd like you to think about, Mike, is to share with the group what a process for A/B testing looks like and how can anybody access it.
Okay, yeah, I can't answer that one today off the top of
No,
my
but
head.
afterwards, I want you to think about that and send that out to everybody.
Mhm.
And the handout kind of breaks down these skills like playing with size and color and words, right, Mike?
Yes. Yes.
Mike, I have a question. Knowing Roger, and Roger is authentic and he's very lovable, but looking at that picture, I would think bringing in it closer and seeing more of his face, because that, to me, Roger's eyes, his whole, I mean, does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes. So I use the elements that we had to work with.
Yeah.
If we were going into, if we were working with Tara, say, and saying we wanted to do a website redesign, we'd be talking about his image and saying Roger's really energetic. He brings a lot of humor to his presentations. He's a lot of fun. I need to see some of that in his personality there. Working with him is an enjoyable experience. He's a nice guy, but it's just it's kind of a boring pose.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that. I didn't mean that you should have fixed everything, but I just wanted to know your reaction to that, because that's my reaction, is like, I know he's the lovable guy. I want to see him.
Yeah, so there's ways then visually, and so we, that's a whole nother topic and conversation that, that isn't something that's easily or quickly solved overnight as, the perfect image. But I also wanted to show that you can improve it even if you can't change your image, right? So if it was like, I can change my image, but it's going to take me, so much time to get things lined up or the budget figured out or X, Y, and Z, you can start making improvements before then, and then add a better image next, if you can't do it all at once. So sometimes we just can't blow it all up. And so if he doesn't have images in his repertoire you could use, it's like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's get hooked up with some people, but let's get something in place sooner rather than later, and then make iterative changes.
But you did blur out the background, so he no longer looks like a real estate consultant.
I did. I did,
Or
and
whoever
also to
did
make the text more readable.
Sure.
And I only used a brick one because his original one had a brick one. I don't know that I would personally say brick is the best background, but but yeah. So I know we're at the top of the hour, so I had another breakout, but I'm not sure it's probably the best use. We were going to play What Could Go Wrong. So one of the things that you can just think about yourself afterwards is take your own, or pair up with somebody, take your own business and take your customers and say, what could go wrong? Like, what's a problem that my clients or customers struggle with, and what could go wrong if they don't solve it, and what could go wrong and what could go wrong. If you need somebody to bounce it off of, you can always reach out to me, and I'll be happy to challenge you with what could go wrong. So
what
and
could
then,
go wrong, and then what would you do to change it?
yeah, after you get down to it, you want to go back to what's the solution, what's the process, what product or service do you offer that
What's the
brings
solution?
them, right? But in terms of finding a way to hook them emotionally, playing that game can get you thinking about it a little bit more.
Wow. Anything else, Mike, you want to close with?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you the reminders that, make it easy, sell the whole, and stir emotions. And then if there's anything that you can do, most importantly, is think about what's the next step you want to take. Even if it's one of those, and if you've if you feel you've already gotten all the way to the emotional part, and that's like good for you. That's phenomenal, and I'll celebrate you. I'd be happy to buy you a virtual cup of coffee, if not a real one, for making it all the way down there. I will, and then if anybody needed it, there's my contact information.
And Mike, these steps on the handout, they don't just apply to websites, right? It would be for my flyer or my even social media posts and things, or is it the same marketing skills that would apply generally for anything I'm creating?
Yeah, you can use most of this if you're creating working on a banner ad, a social media post. I mean, anything where you can take them to an emotion or pull them in. It's really about what's the next step you're hoping that they're going to take and what's that message that's going to resonate. But yes, you can evaluate first views on anything, right? So if you've got a social media graphic, if you've got a flyer you're creating, if you've got a banner ad somebody's working on, you can evaluate the first view and say, am I doing any of that? Because I've got to jump out, I've got to stand out of the clutter and get them to engage with me before I can finish the sell.
I would imagine even on radio or TV, getting
Yes.
the message across in whatever media.
Yes, and stories work great in radio, and but
Thanks,
other than that, I mean, I'm happy to stick around if there's questions. I will put the link to the handout in the comments once I can get my computer back in there. Oops, I should stop sharing. Oh. And then if anybody has questions, I am more than happy to stick around and answer any questions people have.
I don't have any questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, John, this is Stu. Just want to check in quickly. I see that you're recording this session. Where is it going to be hosted afterwards? I'd love to see it
I
again.
think I'm going to post it on the MABC YouTube channel.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. No, great references,
I
Mike.
finally
Love it.
figured out how to do that, Stuart, after much. Yeah. So. Yeah. Are you okay with that, Mike?
Sure.
You can check it out, and if you don't like it, I'll take it down.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you never like your own stuff, so I'm sure
Well, I'm getting some feedback in the chat room that people are digging your stuff, and I think you've provided a lot of helpful information. It's the fundamentals that matter.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about here. And I think you've done a pretty good job of bringing to light some of the issues that we all struggle with.
Yeah, they're all great reminders, even for me who is in the industry, is to lead with the solution, not the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good. That's good stuff. Nice job, Mike.
I think also for me, it's so powerful to realize that I can go and change one thing on my website. I don't have to go start from scratch or throw it all away. I can just go and maybe change one little tweak, and that's what I have time for, right? And instead of having to do an overhaul. And I think the handout for me was really helpful too, to like be able to see, oh, have I looked at this and this and this and this? So
yeah,
and that link is here
there's
to
always a time for a major website renovation. There's always a right moment to be doing that, but you can't do it every month or every day and take that on. So if you can make small changes and try new things, you can start moving the ball forward.
So, Mike, I just wanted to share that your handout is really powerful. I just went there now, and you've put together your entire hour-long presentation to a succinct one-page overview. And I was going to ask if you've got references to a number of the things that you've shared, and you've collected it all here. So very well done. Thank you. And I'm highlighting this for everybody's benefit that's still on. If they go to the chat and click on that link to do so before you leave, otherwise you might miss that opportunity. And the other thing that folks can do, because there's other threads in the chat, is you can save it to your own computer. So bottom of the chat area, 3 little dots, click on it and say save the chat, and you'll be able to save your individual.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. Otherwise, you might lose that chat if you don't do it. It'll just go onto the recorded platform, the person that is hosting this.
What do you want me to do, Stuart?
So if you go to the chat, just real quickly, right?
Yeah.
And look at the bottom where it says file, to the right of file is a little 3 dots.
Oh, yeah.
Click on that, it says save chat. That will save it to your own computer. It works on a PC. I don't have a Mac, so
Okay.
should work on a Mac as well.
Works the same way.
Yeah, just something else to remember that I spend a lot of time trying to help people with is when people look at websites, they really are only looking at the homepage above the fold, which is what you see on your screen.
Yeah.
So if you put a bunch of valuable content below what people see on the homepage, you're potentially missing an opportunity to create it. So, when you think about your homepage, look at your homepage and ask yourself, what am I seeing on the screen? And is there enough information for me to create an action step without people touching their mouse?
Do that squint test.
Right. And there's you're right, John, and there's a lot, stuff below the fold is good if you've already engaged somebody. They're likely to scroll, but they're not going to even scroll down if you haven't captured their attention.
Right. So, wow, nice presentation, Mike. It went better than I think you thought it was going to go.
Yeah, probably.
Good
but I didn't know how it was going to go, so.
That's what I mean. First time
Mike,
for everything.
I've got a question. How do you work? I mean, what is the process? If somebody wanted to engage with you, what are the steps? Do you do a consultation? Do you move into an hourly basis? Do you do packages? I would just, because I'd like to work with you, but I don't know how or what you do.
Sure. The first thing is a sort of phone consultation strategy, consultation where we can talk and I can get to know you a little bit better, what your goals are, what you feel you're struggling with, so we can narrow it down. I do have a package about figuring out your foundational message and how to tell that story. That is it's a 6 to 8 week process that we go through where there's information going back and forth. And then by the end of it, we're nailing your presentation and looking at how that can translate into a marketing perspective. And then I typically I either work with people month to month on a relationship basis or with packages and projects.
So if I hear then you correctly, the first step is a consultation. Figure out what we need, and then usually you've got a starter package which runs 6 to 8 weeks, where it's figuring out your message.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll actually testimonial here. I went through that process with Mike, and what I left with was my foundational story and message that then can be applied to all my marketing places, my websites, my flyers, my social media posts, right? Like now I have the language that can be used in all of those and tweaked for different clientele sets, right? So I have teachers and businesses and community leaders, so how that main message gets tweaked for each of those groups. So I wouldn't say it would have to be 8 weeks, Mike, but if you're a problem client like me, it was maybe on the longer side, but if you're really ready to go and you know what you're doing, he probably could go quicker.
It may not take that long. I don't like to say that it'll go completely faster, because what I don't want to do is just give you a formula statement where you've plugged in the blanks. We want to give you time to really work through for us to work through it and really let it simmer, look at it, come back to it, take it to the next level. So it takes a few iterative processes to really get down to it. Yes, it could go faster. I just don't like to promise it, because sometimes we just need more back and forth before I want you to feel really comfortable with your foundation, because if you've got a foundational statement that's right and really speaks to you, it goes beyond just marketing. That foundational piece can be used for how you can pivot your business, how you can evaluate new opportunities. So it's such an important, critical piece in the grand scheme of things, even strategically beyond marketing, that I don't want to cut it too short.
Mike,
So
it sounds like you're
understand
almost
that,
talking about
that
developing a vision statement for your
Mhm.
business and going from there.
It's
It's
way
not-
more than that. It's much deeper than a vision statement. It's just this powerful work that, like, I mean, you can't even describe it. I mean, when you get done, it's not just like one line. It's like paragraphs and words and information, and he makes you cry. Just so you know, Stuart, he would probably make you cry too, because you get to this place where you're being so vulnerable with like what you desperately came to this world to do, and how do I get like the right wording? And I don't know about you guys, I've been through this process 100 times. I've hired different, been in different, signed up for this package to get this information. And when I met with Mike, I had so much PTSD for this whole process. I had something, but it was just something. And when we went through it, I mean, I want to get, because it's so me. And I was just so the forest through the trees, I couldn't see it. And Mike held the space, asked the hard questions, and then would make me sit with it for the week, come back a week later and say, okay, wait, but I heard you say this, I put it like this. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. That's, and so, yeah, just really powerful work working with Mike.
So
Great-
truly
great
getting to an
testimonial.
authentic you, where you're going.
Yeah.
Kind of therapy in a way, right, Mike?
It is.
I
And
never
Sherry,
saw
as-
myself as a therapist, but sure.
Sherry, as you get to know me, you notice that I'm pretty much a bleeding heart. I
Right.
cry easily, so that
That's
will
so that you
happen.
can cry, buddy.
The tears are going to flow.
Yep, they did with me too.
Yeah, yeah. So, Mike, how many MABC members have you worked with?
Heather, I think Heather's the only official member, but I've been working with Tina, Alice, Sherry, and Roger, and Heather on their
Okay,
messages and
so
statements.
4 or 5. Pretty soon you'll get all of us.
That's okay.
Pretty new to the group yet, Mike. You haven't been around that long.
No, about a little over a year.
Yeah. No, I'd be happy to work with you. I'll follow up. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, great.
It's the beauty of the organization right there.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent.
seeing
Thank you.
if there's no other questions, is there any other questions?
I do have one other question, Mike. Just in terms of marketing, your expertise as an MBA and your other expertise. So you do far more than the online digital marketing, and you take the whole thing into perspective and help a company figure out, I assume, also budgeting and whether things have changed because of the pandemic, and you do that comprehensive approach?
Yes.
Excellent.
That's the fastest answer. Yes.
Thank you.
That's a good answer. I just want to remind everybody that October 15th is our next meeting. Get acquainted with Microsoft 365, presented by Nancy Krushke, owner of Successful Organizing Solutions. That will be enlightening as well, I'm sure. And I just want to thank everybody for being here today. And we went a little long, but when the program is awesome, it doesn't matter how long it is, as long as you get your information. Mike, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Really did a nice
Pleasure.
job. This is kind of a testimonial to each individual member. If you have knowledge that is extraordinary that you want to share, it's a pretty cool place to do it. Because we all
It's a
work,
safe place too.
yeah, we all work with ourselves, and we all work with other people, and we all work with companies, and we all know a lot of people. So it's not like, hey, if it doesn't work for you, maybe you know somebody else that's struggling, that needs help. It's a great time to set up a referral. And I'll just say this again, I would encourage everybody to continue to keep your eyes and ears open for people out there who need help, and get to know other members' skill sets so that we can make a difference in the community, and at the same time, maybe help another MABC member by creating more business amongst ourselves.
Hey, John, before you close, just real quickly, and Mike, this might be a benefit to you. If you were to send out some type of an evaluation, maybe afterwards to those that were here today, there were close to 30 members, right?
Yeah.
That might provide the feedback, because I sensed a hesitancy on how this might be received. The only way you can find that out is by surveying people. So if there were a way you could put together an evaluation and get it out to those that were here today, I think it would be of benefit to you. So I just thought I'd offer that up.
Does anybody want to volunteer to do that?
What were the 4 questions to our attendees? Much less on the presentation and much more general?
The guests get just their contact information, basically, so that Chris follows up with them afterwards from the membership team and says, we'd like to learn more and chat with you. And so it's more a follow-up rather than an evaluation.
Thank you.
So just a real quick way for an evaluation is on a scale of 1 to 10. What did you feel that today's presentation brought you in terms of value, and what would make it a 10? You know, those 2 questions are all you need. And then you'll get the feedback that either validates that it was great. And for me, it was probably a 9. And what would make it a 10 is to have this evaluation and actually able to, you know, crunch the numbers a little bit and see other parts or slow it down or the support. And I think you've done that also with your overview. So when I see the slides and I put that together with the handout that you've provided, I think that will be a 10.
If anybody has any ideas on how they want to set that up, I'm able to facilitate it, but I'm going to need somebody else to pull the trigger on that.
Can I ask really quick, what you guys, the survey that we did for the guests, what format, was that on SurveyMonkey or?
I think it's Google Drive or Google something.
Cool, thank you.
Pam, do you have any
John and Heather,
ideas on
just,
that?
John, this is Judy. Just so you know, historically, there was a survey form that MABC used in the past that might be helpful to wherever you want to go with this survey. But it was designed to be a written type thing, and then somebody tabulated the responses.
Yep.
And I don't know who's got I had the form at one time. I don't know who might have the master now.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think Val's on here anymore, but I'll see if Val can just create those 2 questions, Stuart, that you mentioned. She did the guest one, and see if she can send it, and she'll send it to you, John.
Yeah.
She did it quick, and she knows what she's doing with that. So
I'm just going to follow the training I got from Heather, which is to delegate.
Yeah. Yes. Yay.
And anybody that
I'm
wants
so
to put the
proud of
survey
you,
together is
John.
welcome to do
Good
it.
job.
I'm trying. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you. If anybody wants to follow up on the survey idea, I will make it happen if somebody wants to take the lead on it. And then I will probably see you all on Thursday, October 15th.
Great.
Thanks
Thanks,
so much,
John.
everybody.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Stay safe
Have a
out
great
there.
day. We'll talk again soon.
Bye.
Bye for now.